guys and gals, Aunt Diane here. I have two stories about online scams that ended in the person losing their life. But I wanted to just say, make a little announcement, and that's got to do with music. And then I want to just say if anybody is interested in the story of Kylie Rodney, Rodni, which hopefully everybody knows about right now, not for a good reason, but just to keep a lookout. She's the one that disappeared over a week ago. She was at a party. And Annie Elise does discusses it a lot on her channel, usually through the podcasts or the live videos. But then you can go back and watch it later, even if you're not on the live. Also, there's a channel called Grizzly True Crime. I know there are others too, but I just can't think of it offhand. So there's a lot of conspiracies what happened. They don't trust one of their friends and yada, yada, yada. I can't, I don't know what's going on. So if anybody here is curious about that, please do look into that. Ladies out there who play the guitar, you don't even have to be good at it. Like, look at me, they let me in. You don't even have to have, it's called the Guitar Mamas. You don't even have to be the mama of a child, a human child. You could be a mama of a dog or a cat. You could be a mama of pets. It's fun. We get together once a month on a Zoom call, so it's like a little party. They call it the monthly social, and you don't have to pay anything to join or anything. It's just a fun group of gals, and Carly is the leader. Her and her twin sister have actually they're in Canada. They've actually published music. Okay, there's another girl from Philly. She's in the group, and she's got published music. I'm almost ready to publish something. I'm still learning about the mastering and all that, so I'm still an amateur. But it's fun. Everybody gets a chance to play like an open mic. And then we try to all play things together. And Carly keeps a list of all the songs that we have that are, that we like to play together. And it usually lasts about an hour or two, so get like a drink or coffee or, something. It's like an online party. It's fun. And then there was something else I was going to tell. Oh, once a week on Facebook or on Instagram, just look up the Guitar Mamas or Guitar Mamas, and you can find it on both Facebook and Instagram. And she'll do a little lick. Carly's the mama of the mamas, and she's really good. She plays with a band too, and I think her sister does too. I'm pretty sure. And they're both, very talented. And she'll do a little lick from like a famous song, whether it's from today's music or 60s, 70s, the past. And she'll play the little lick, and then she'll like go back and explain the little steps. So that if you've held a guitar and played before, it might take a while to get it, but you just watch it over and over. I mean, it's just a fun thing that she does. So if anybody out there, girls only, sorry guys, if anyone is interested, please look them up. And I'm just one of the people that joined up. I'm not like in charge of anything. I'm just one of the fellow mamas. Okay, but we hope to see you there. Now on to the subject of this video. First of all, please let me apologize for the glare from my glasses, but I can't see a damn thing without them. So, before I get into the actual main subject, on Instagram I got a message from someone claiming to be the real Brian May, which I know he's not because I followed the real Brian May. Anyway, but that's just something that amuses you, and if you know how to look out for the love scammers, the love scamming catfish that try to, woo you, using a handsome guy's picture, and then they suddenly have an emergency and they need money, and send it in gift cards. Yeah, that's legitimate, right? This is something different, and I did do a video on online dangers for minors that meet catfish pretending to be young kids their own age, and then they go and meet them, and God, something horrible happens Today I'm going to give two real-life examples. There are a lot more than two, but I'm going to give you a couple of notable examples today. Most of these deadly catfish stories are not people overseas trying to rip you off for money. They're just people. They could be in your own town, your own state. They can even be across the country. They're just pedos and looking for young victims, unfortunately. And that's where today's stories are going to be. The first young lady I'd like to introduce is Carly Ryan. She was 15 years old and she lived in Australia. And this was back in the days of MySpace. And online, she met a boy named Brandon Kane. He gave us his name. He said he was born in the United States but lived in Australia now. They ended up having a teen romance online as well as on the telephone. An older man named Gary Newman was claiming to be the father of Brandon. He showed up at Carly's front door saying that he was Brandon's dad. Okay, his name is Shane. And he wanted to give Carly her presents from his son, who doesn't exist, okay? He's really, as you might have figured out by now, he's really the bad guy. He did meet Carly's mom, and she said, okay, well, for some reason, I guess the son couldn't show up, so the father came to bring the presents for him. And what a noble dad, right? So the mother let him into the girls' party, and he was acting like kind of weird and stuff. And then the mom caught him laying on Carly's bed later, and he said they were just like kidding around and chatting. She was like, get out of here. She kicked his ass out the door. After the mom kicked his butt out, she started watching more closely, Carly being on the computer. A month later, Carly said she was going to one of her girlfriend's house to have a sleepover. Unfortunately, Carly did not return the next day. Unfortunately, that same morning, her body was found in the bay at Port Elliot. Unfortunately, she was gone by then. She was assaulted, drowned, and suffocated, I believe. And there was no way to, revive her or anything. Now, witnesses were at the beach, identified her, and there was CCTV that had gotten video of her. So they were able to identify the man, but they didn't know his name or where to find him. However, about a week and a half later, they were able to find the creep because of the description of his vehicle. And did you know the man, they arrested him, and he had a young son with him that he had adopted. I mean, and the poor kid witnessed the whole thing happening. I mean, that's got to be very traumatizing. So, of course, the child, did not get in trouble for it. I mean, he was a young child, but Mr. Newman, the creep, got a life sentence of minimum of 29 years to life for his crime. Casey Woody was a 13-year-old girl living in Arkansas. Her mom died in a car accident when Casey was a little girl. So her father and her moved in with the aunt and uncle, some other relatives nearby. So her guardians, okay? they lived in a pretty wooded remote area. This is 2002. It was pretty much like towards the beginning of the internet when it wasn't, people were chatting and stuff, but I don't think MySpace was around yet, and certainly Facebook was not around or anything after that. But since she kind of lived in a remote area and wasn't really living close to a friend's house, her guardians said, yeah, it's okay to, chat with your friends. So as she's chatting one day, okay, a young boy comes on, okay, and he's a 17-year-old surfer guy from California, and his name is Dave. She's like, wow, he's really cute. And she was chatting a lot with him and stuff. And he said he's going to be 18 soon. And the father was like, no, he's going to be 18, he's going to be 13, that's too old. So meanwhile, she was also chatting with a 14-year-old boy. And this boy really was legitimate, who he said he was. What happened was the father or the uncle or somebody started getting suspicious because Dave, the surfer, started using terms like groovy and stuff that kids that age wouldn't use. I mean, even my generation didn't even use it. That was the generation before me, So, they thought something was weird about it. Okay. Anyway, she was still chatting with Dave as a friend, I guess, because she knew he was too old for it. But they were just chatting as friends, supposedly. And she was also chatting with another boy. The other boy who really was who he said he was, his name was Scott, and he lived in Georgia. And he would talk about sports and school and everything. You could tell that he was more legit. And later on in the story, the police confirm, yes, he is legit. And he really seemed to care about her. Now, her father worked a night shift. I think they had their own little place, but it was right next door to the relatives. So they were back and forth. They were able to see each other. But she did live a little bit remotely from her friend's house. Now, since her father wasn't always around to watch her case, he would still sneak on the phone and talk to Dave. And she even had a friend sleep over one night, and she heard scary noises like someone trying to break in. And she was telling Dave, what's going on? What's going on? I'm scared. Her and her friend were hiding in the closet or something. It's like, oh, don't worry about it. He comes up with a story down the road that his aunt was in an accident and is in a hospital in Arkansas, and he's coming to visit her, and he wants to see her then. Now, Dave accepted just being friends with Casey and understood that she had more of a romantic feeling with Scott. Now, remember, this is all online. Okay, so she wasn't like dating Scott. He was a couple states away, too. And, you don't exactly have a car to go visit people when you're that age, 13, 14, right? Now, Casey's guardians were also suspicious that the legitimate one, Scott, might have been some crazy old man. So they were worried about her. Scott had mailed her a photo. She got a photo in the mail, and the picture was hanging up. And her dad was like, where'd you get that picture? Oh, Scott sent it to me, and it really was him. But he's like, no, it could be some, old creep using a boy's picture. And he was upset that she gave her address out to somebody online. Now, somehow, the old creep, Dave, whose real name is David Fuller, he was in his late 40s, a lovely man pictured next to her. He somehow got her address. I can't remember if another friend gave it to her or something. So the guardians were very upset about that as well. So Casey started getting the creeps. Now the father was working night shift. So she called around to her friends saying, can I stay over there? Can I stay over there? She suddenly got paranoid that, he could come and kidnap her or something. Meanwhile, he's making her feel bad because he's in Arkansas to see his aunt who's in the hospital. So she's torn, she's upset, but now she's scared, Yeah, what if he really isn't him? What if he really is some old creep? So Casey's alone in the house at night. Dad's at work. The rest of the family were out doing this or that, Some of them were out studying and whatnot. So she's alone and she started, to get the creeps, but she's on the phone with the nice guy. So she was messaging back and forth with Scott and stuff. And, she was kind of scared. Okay, it was a little bit before 10 p.m. And Scott suddenly stopped getting messages from Casey. Now, Scott was a nice, caring kid, and he was like really, really worried. He emailed, he called the house, nobody answered because he knew her phone number too. And he didn't understand, he was freaking out. So somebody else came home, another family member came home and noticed that Casey was not there. The dad came home and noticed the house looked like it had been broken into. Of course, she wasn't in a bed or anywhere. He got back in his patrol car and everyone's freaking out, like, where could she be? They called all of Casey's friends to see if she could be with any of them, and they were like, no, she's not here. The dog had been injured, so he must have done something to the poor little dog. Poor thing was limping around. Things were broken in the bedroom, and they were like, what the hell's going on here? In Casey's garbage can, they found the names of two guys. So Scott, the law enforcement immediately raced over to where his address was. And it turned out he was legitimate. He was really a, regular kid. So they took him off the suspect list. Now, Casey's friends knew about this surfer dude, Dave, who was really the old creep. And that got the father very worried. They went around hotels looking at, license plates. They found a California license plate in a motel. They were able to trace it down by tracing the phone numbers that had called Casey, that it was David Fuller. Okay, so what ended up happening was that they found what kind of car he drove and everything. They found what hotel he was staying at, and they found that he had rented a storage unit. He had also rented a van to drive to the storage unit. What also made law enforcement even more suspicious was that David checked into the room for a whole week and said, no maid service, please. They ended up breaking in his room and found rubber gloves and all sorts of, suspicious things in there. The law enforcement all raced down to the storage unit, found the van parked inside with Casey Woody, unfortunately, laying down, no longer alive. And then they heard a gunshot from within the storage unit, which David Fuller inflicted on himself. The Casey Woody Foundation was created, and I will leave the link, well, not the link, but the web address right here. And that's it for tonight's well, I'm doing this Monday night for Tuesday, so I'm ahead of time. Doing this now. Let's all pray that this stops happening. I mean, the scammers are getting more and more sneaky how they get through to people. And there's a Kylie Rodney missing still. I'm sure you've heard about it on the news. If not, it's spelled Kiely Rodni. And there's a couple of crime people on YouTube that are talking about it. Okay, Grizzly True Crime, like Grizzly Bear. Grizzly True Crime and Annie Elise. I think it's spelled Alise, and she's very thorough too. So just try to look at the most recent the most recent uploads, because they've been uploading like once, twice a day. They're doing them as live. But let's say a prayer for this sweet 16-year-old girl. Okay, and I might do another video during the week. I don't have any doctor appointments this week, thank God. Last week was horrible. This week I'm okay, I think. But let's pray that that young lady comes home. And I look forward to hearing from you soon. If you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments. And please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Love you guys. Thanks. Bye-bye.